Hello, today we'll be performing a basic service maintenance for a BMW i3, and what that's going to entail is a brake fluid flush as well as a cabin filter change and the resetting of the service interval. So it's a pretty simple process, and I will be walking it through step by step. So we'll be going through the basic tools that you're going to be required and the hardware that's going to be needed for this. And first and foremost is the actual cabin filter that you'll be purchasing. Now I believe there are aftermarkets available, but the one I got was the OEM BMW one, and here is the part number. So in addition to that, you're going to need some brake fluid, preferably .4. I prefer to use ATE. As well as a 11mm flare wrench, a flathead screwdriver, a turkey baster, as well as a pressure bleeder to perform the brake flush. What you're going to want to do is access the brake fluid reservoir, and that's actually located right under the hood, right when you remove this service panel here. So you lift this off, and then your brake fluid reservoir is this guy right here. So we'll begin by unscrewing the cap and opening up to kind of reveal the screen. So the next thing we're going to want to do is remove that screen so we can remove the excess fluid, the extra fluid in there, and then we will proceed to the next hook, or you can use a screwdriver to kind of pry out the screen element. So you're going to really just want to wedge in there and kind of like work its way out. And then once you do, just be mindful of the brake fluid that is coming out, since brake fluid is harmful to paint. So we could begin by just removing the screen and setting it aside on some paper towel just to kind of get it out of the way. So that will kind of reveal your reservoir, and from there you can kind of like pull out the excess fluid, and we can do that with a turkey baster. So you're going to notice that there is a bit of a partition there, so you won't be able to baste to extract as much fluid from there. So that's not an issue. Just remove as much fluid as you can, and then from there you'll be adding in your new fluid. So I prefer a dry bleed. Other people prefer to kind of bleed and place the fluid into the reservoir. So I won't get into the differences of a dry bleed versus a regular bleed, but for this purpose I'm going to do a dry bleed on this. So in order to do a dry bleed, what I do is I'll add in the fluid into this reservoir and pressurize it. So once you added in your fluid, you notice that it's a little bit of a different color. So this is more of a dark amber, and the original fluid that I had was a very, very bright yellow. So you'll put the cap back on, screw back on, make sure it's tight, and then you'll pressurize the system here. So I usually like to do 10 pounds. So starting from the wheel that's furthest from the reservoir, you're going to want to first jack your car up and ensure it's up, and then you're going to locate the bleed valve, and then the bleed valve is actually right here underneath this cover right here. So it's out of focus. So in order to access it, you'll just kind of pry it open and reveal the valve, and it's a 11mm nut that you kind of undo here. So you place your flared wrench along it. And then you'll attach a hose to the actual valve, so that when you're draining it, you're not just dumping it into anywhere. So you'll attach the valve, or the hose, and then once you have the hose attached, you'll crank it open and to start releasing fluid. You can see some of the old fluid, and you can see the old fluid coming out from there. So you'll want to let it drain for a while, and if you're doing the dry bleed, you have to kind of ensure that your reservoir doesn't get too empty. So just keep an eye out on this tank here. You can see the line still pretty full. So just ensure that you're not letting any air into the system when you bleed. But that's only if you do the dry bleed. If you prefer the standard bleed method, that shouldn't be an issue. Just keep an eye out on your tank and make sure that that's still full. So once you're finished with it, you're going to want to tighten your valve back up closed by steering it clockwise, and then removing the hose. So from there, you can kind of remove everything and then clean up as the reverse of the removal. So dry off any excess brake fluid that you may have spilled, and then hook your brake sensor line back to it, and then close back the valve. So just ensure you wipe down any brake fluid that might have spilled or seeped out, since it is corrosive to paintwork. So from there, that right rear wheel is complete. So you're going to repeat the process on the rear wheels, and on the rear wheels, the caliper bleed is right here actually. And to access that, you have this this cover that you need to kind of pry off and remove. So you get a better angle of it right here. There it is. So there's that you want to remove. So to kind of pry it off, you should just be able to kind of flip it out. Now this one doesn't have the sensor wire like the other side, so your passenger side will actually have a sensor wire on it. From here, we could add our 11mm flare wrench, locked in place, and then add your hose to begin the drain process. Should be able to just crank it counterclockwise. There you go. See fluid coming out. We'll let that drain for a minute. See some of the sediment and the dirt in the line. So it's just you just want to clear all that out. You want to ensure that you drain all of the air bubbles and all the sediment out before you close the line. So from there, you'll just undo it and remove the line from it, cleaning up any excess fluid that might have spilled, drying it off. So, once you have that cleared up, you can put the cap back on and you should be good to go. Moving to the front wheel, things are a little bit different on this caliper right here. So if you notice, the actual bleed valve is actually right here on the top of the caliper, and it's there's less, you don't have electronic parking brake in the way of this one, so this one's more accessible and you don't have any wires attached to it. So the process for this one's gonna be very, very similar to the rear. So for this, you'll do the same by undoing the 11mm hex nut. If I can get a grasp on it, there it goes. Cool. So you'll do that, and then you'll attach your hose, and then you will attach your hose, and then the process will be the same. So just attach it to, just drain it into a container of your choice, and then the process is going to be very, very similar. So once it's drained for a while, you'll close up the valve, tighten it back up, remove your flare wrench, undo the hose, and then just be careful of any fluid that might come up, and then clean up the valve again, and then reclose the dust cover. That covers it for the front. Drivers is gonna have a sensor line that you're gonna want to keep in mind before you remove the cover. So this one has the cover right here, very similar to the passenger, and you're gonna undo that, and then there's your bleed valve right there. So the process is the same for this one, and we'll just proceed from there. Reading the system will ensure that the proper level of fluid is still in there, and you know, I topped off prior to the last bleed, So if you're dry bleeding, just keep an eye out on the reservoir. So last thing we'll do is just undo it now, since the entire line is closed. You can hear the system depressurizing from here. So undo the cap, and then just ensure that there's fluid still from the reservoir and that you're in a great level, which it seems like we are, right at the max line. And then we can cap it back up. And that concludes it. What I want to do is put your wheels back on, drop the car, and then tighten your wheel bolts back to 140 Newton meters or 103 foot-pounds. So that'll be the last thing you do. The final step that you're going to take is to reset the service interval. So how you do that is bring the car into standby mode, and then you're gonna hold the reset. So you notice that my service is due. You're gonna press and hold for about 10 seconds. And then it's gonna say reset possible, and then you're gonna press and hold again. And then you're gonna hit reset once more. And then there goes the reset. Successful. So let's toggle the navigation to see if it all took effect. So let's reset this one. So not reset yet, so let's reset that one. 2, 3. And then let's confirm that we want to reset this too. And then let's confirm once more. Cool. So that should be good. All right. So let's confirm, and now all of our checks are all resetted, and the next service interval is 2022. Thanks again, guys.